What's up, everybody? This is Robbie Yeager, and I am back again with another episode of the Rob Report right here on MCSC Network. And I know you haven't seen me for about a week, and that's because my recording schedule is all out of whack because it revolves around my children's schedule, and my children's schedule is all out of whack because there's a worldwide pandemic that shut down all the schools. So, I'm back, though, for at least for now, and we got to be talking about the $2 trillion stimulus package that was pushed through Congress at the pace of a snail. And you might be sick of hearing about it, but quite honestly, I haven't been able to give my opinion on it. And I'm gonna go ahead and say, bullet point up front, it's a weak ass bill. It goes too far in a couple of areas, and it goes nowhere near far enough in most areas. And so we're gonna break it down. I'm gonna be going through a USA Today article about about the breakdown of the stimulus bill, and we're just going to jump through it right here. So let's get it. So scroll back up to the top here. What's in the stimulus package? Well, let's just start right here. This has been the big thing: the $500 billion in loans and guarantees to businesses, $50 billion for passenger airlines, $8 billion for air cargo carriers, half the money specifically for paying workers, $17 billion for businesses critical to maintaining national security. All right, so let's just stop there for a second. What they mean by that, I'm assuming, are defense contractors and corporations like Google and Amazon and companies that the government does business with on a regular basis. I have a huge problem with this because Alphabet, Google's parent company, and Amazon are two of the biggest mega corporations in the entire world. We should not have to give them money. Jeff Bezos should not be asking people for donations in order to support his employees that can't work during the pandemic. If anything, he could be paying this out of his own pocket, but he could be also paying this out of the total net profits that Amazon has been enjoying over the last 15 years. Raytheon, United Technologies, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, the list goes on and on. These defense contractors, the top 7 defense contractors over the last 15 years have put together a cumulative total of $269 billion in net profits. And when I say net profits, I mean after they've paid all of their product fees, they've paid all of their employees, all of the insurances that they may or may not provide for their employees. They've paid all of their land taxes, all of their property values, all of their rents, everything, even paid their CEOs 6-figure salaries. After all of that, they have put together a cumulative total of $269 billion over the last 15 years. That is more than half of the $500 billion that companies like them are going to be receiving. Now, also, let's use another example. Walmart, right? Over the last 15 years, Walmart has put together $215 billion in net profits, but they can't pay sick leave for their employees. Guys, look, I'm gonna put it to you straight like this. When I was growing up, if I didn't have no money, or if I got down on my luck, I was going through hard times, you know what somebody was telling me? Bro, you should have been better with your money. You should have been more prepared with your money, man. What'd you do with your money? What's wrong? You should have been better prepared with your finances, bro. Okay, cool. How come we can't ask the same thing of these mega corporations? But Robbie, these mega corporations, they employ people. Yeah, no shit. Okay, and I understand that they need to be, they need to be protected to a certain extent, okay, in a very slim extent. These mega corporations that bring home like $10 billion in net profit a year, they shouldn't be asking the government for money. You should have been better with your money, bro. Should have been better with your money, Waltons. Should have been better with your money, Bezos. But no, $500 billion. That's 25% of the stimulus package, guys. It's going to mega corporations. And you want to know one of the reasons why it took so long to get this bill passed? It's because Chuck Schumer decided down here at the bottom that he had to make a political point and use this as a political football. Companies are not eligible for loans if top Trump administration officials, members of Congress, or their families have 20% control. Now, do you think this last part of members of Congress and their families, how much run do you think that got in the press? Almost zero. The big part here was Trump. He said the magic word. Chuck Schumer held this bill hostage to make a political point about Orange Man Bad dipping his little Cheeto-covered fingers into the stimulus cookie jar. Again, this is disgusting. This should go without saying, right, that government official-owned businesses should not qualify for this stuff. Because, honestly, if you're going into government, I'm of the opinion that A, you shouldn't be able to own stock. B, if you have controlling interests in any corporations, you should be forced to sell that before you are sworn in, at the very least. You shouldn't be, and your immediate family should not be able to do so either. I'm sorry, that might not be, that might sound awfully socialist of me, but I mean, it's fair, people. Like, it just breeds conflict of interest. If your brother is cashing in on your name because you're a senator, I mean, we've seen this story time and time again. The left likes to point at the Trump children, and the right likes to point at the Biden kids. Both are fair points. Both are 100% fair points. But this should go without saying, guys. This thing was politicized from day one, and it's absolutely gross. But I know, again, between Walmart and the top 7 defense companies in the country, almost $500 billion over the last 15 years in net profits. That's money that they don't have to do shit with but invest or donate. But they can't pay their employees sick leave, and they still need a bailout. That's not even mentioning companies like Amazon and Alphabet or Google. It's ridiculous. It's not to even mention Microsoft, who not only one of the richest men in the world, for the longest time, the richest man in the world, Bill Gates, even though he stepped down, he still owns a massive private foundation that could take care of almost everybody. I did some math the other day about Michael Bloomberg, using him as an example. He's got a net worth of $60 billion. There's 500,000 approximately homeless people accounted for in this country, over 500,000 homeless. He could buy them all a $100,000 piece of property and still be a multi-billionaire. It's just one person. And it's crazy how the math. Now, would I expect him to do that? No, but damn, this is the amount of money that we're talking about. And yet these people still need our help. Should have been better with your money, bro. Let's move on. Small businesses includes $350 billion in loans for companies with 500 employees or fewer, including nonprofits, self-employed, and hotel and restaurant chains with up to 500 workers per location. Look, a government provides 8 weeks of cash assistance through loans to cover payrolls, rent, and other expenses, much of which would be forgiven if the company retains its workers. Look, okay, here's my first problem. Small businesses, or 99% of the businesses in this country are considered small businesses. So tell me why they're getting 30% less than the mega corporations like Amazon, Walmart, Boeing. Please somebody explain that to me. Because people are investing their life savings into starting these businesses that nobody knows this for sure, but without the threat of a global pandemic, these businesses may have been successful. But we may never know that now. But now what we're going to do is take a lot of these businesses that were barely making it, especially in rural and overcrowded, out here in the rural communities, and then in very overcrowded communities, where competition is super stiff. What you're doing is you're going to give these people a $500,000 loan, $250,000 of a loan before they even able to reopen their doors. They've done lost untold thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars being closed. If they're even able to reopen their doors, they're going to reopen their doors with a massive debt to the federal government. I'm sorry. These should all, it should be grants. This should be grants, and this number should be flipped with the 500 billion at the very least. Small businesses should be getting 500 billion, and the other corporations should be getting 350. If we're going to use the same numbers, those numbers should be flip flop. The most amount of money, and $17 billion to help small businesses repay existing loans. You're basically loaning them money to pay off the loans that they already had on their own property. Please tell me how any of this makes sense. I'm not an economist. I can do basic math, and I have a plethora of common sense. And every molecule of both in my body is telling me that this doesn't make any damn sense whatsoever. It just doesn't. It's quite sick. At the very least, this should be flipped. But hold on, there's more. We're going to skip the emergency unemployment. I'm going to come back to that, I promise, because that's a big sticking point, but I think it goes better when coupled with the one-time payments, which I'll cover in just a second. We'll skip down here to healthcare. $150 billion. $100 billion for grants to hospitals, public and nonprofit health organizations, and Medicare and Medicaid suppliers. We have a worldwide pandemic with over 80,000 people are now infected with the virus in the United States. There's hospitals that are on overflow, like there's not enough beds. Amazon and companies like them can get $500 billion, but these hospitals, y'all got to split $100 billion, all of you. And you don't just have to split it with other hospitals. No, you have to split the $100 billion with public and nonprofit health organizations and Medicare and Medicaid suppliers as well. People, please, somebody in the comments on Twitter, somebody hit me up. Let me know why this makes sense to anyone. Why these numbers make sense. They don't. I'm at a loss for this. This doesn't go far enough. It's not even close to being far enough. Like hospitals, you're only going to get you can give companies like Amazon and Google and Alphabet and Boeing almost 25% of the entire stimulus package. Hospitals get $100 billion. Like, come on, dude. What is the $150 billion to aid state and local governments? I'm tripping over my own tongue here. At least $1.25 billion for the smallest states. Okay, cool. So Maine and Wyoming are going to get a $1.25 billion. I'm assuming that the larger populated states will get significantly more than that. And that's all well and dandy because state governments are busting their ass to try to make this thing work. At least, look, I'm not a side note. I live in North Carolina. I live in Wake County. It's got over 850,000 people that live here. It's the 14th or 15th largest school district in the entire country. I am by no means a Roy Cooper fan, our governor, but our state has done all that can be asked of them. I think they have had an appropriately decent response, and I commend them. But this is an unprecedented situation. So they never downplayed it ever. They gave certain departments of our state opportunities to make their own decisions on the best way to proceed. And when they could not do that, the governor stepped in and started laying out executive orders and said, if you're not going to do it, then I'll do it for you. And I'm totally okay with that. States are expending a ton of money to fight this, and I'm okay with this $150 billion going to state governments. I'm totally fine with that. So that's one part of the bill that I can at least get behind. All right. So here's what we're going to do here. So direct payments to people. One-time payments of $1,200 per adult, $2,400 per couple, $500 per child. Amounts begin phasing out at $75K for individuals and $150K per couple. This doesn't go far enough at all. Doesn't go far enough at all. You want to know why? Recent studies, according to the 2015 census, the average mortgage payment in this country is $1,500. Now that's the average over the entire country. You can bet your ass in communities and in states and regions like, let's say, California and New York, where honestly half the cases in the United States were, I'm not gonna say half, a vast majority of cases in the United States uh, were for a long time in New York, one of the most densely populated and at risk areas in the entire country. Please, somebody tell me what $1,200 is going to buy you in New York as far as a mortgage goes. I mean, I live in North Carolina. Rent prices are sky high around here. I can tell you that right now. Mortgage prices are probably a little bit lower, but $1,200 in the hardest hit area, $2,400 for couples in the hardest hit areas of this country doesn't go anywhere close to being far enough. $500 per child. Okay, cool. This is a one-time payment. One-time payment that you probably won't even receive until May. Somebody help me out here. It's March right now, right? Late March. It's all of April. So what's to say early May? Even if we're looking early May, you're already what? I mean, school shut down. Businesses have been shutting down for like weeks now already. So what? You're already 2 months behind on your mortgage. Say you pay the national average in mortgage, which is right around $1,500. So this $2,400 that you and your spouse, if you're lucky enough to have one that just received, okay, cool. You were able to pay a month and a half of the rent or mortgage that you owe. This isn't including utilities. This isn't including water, gas, insurance for your car, insurance for your health, if you're lucky enough to be able to afford that. There's so many. Look, it's not just about paying for your mortgage. Like, this has to cover bills that will keep, literally necessities. I mean, I'm sorry, without health insurance of some form, you are going to probably be in a lot of trouble if you get hit with coronavirus. If you need a roof over your head, you need to eat, you need to pay your water bill, you need to be able to get to the store, so which means you need to be able to maintain your car, which means you need to put gas in it. There are so many more things than just the mortgage payment that go into this. And one-time payments of $1,200 per adult, $2,400 per couple, $500. Okay, look, that's not enough. That's not enough. I'm sorry. It's nowhere close to enough. But don't worry, you can file for unemployment. And let's get back to that. This is my problem with this. It's almost like they don't want to give it to you, this money, right? And the reason I say that is because, you get an increase, a weekly benefit increase of $600 for 4 months. All right, cool. I've been on unemployment a couple of times in my life, and maybe some of my viewers out here, y'all might be able to help me out with this. It took me a month last time I filed for unemployment to get through the bureaucracy of it all, to cut through all the red tape of it all, and actually start receiving my benefits. This would be unacceptable in normal times. I saw a story that 150,000 people in one day crashed the Florida government unemployment website because they all were trying to make claims at the same time. And it's just a precursor of things to come, right? They could just be giving you guys this money without making you file for unemployment, but they don't just want to give you the money. No, they want you to go get the money. They want you to go claim the money that they should just be giving you. It's almost like they don't want you to have it, because if they just wanted you to have it, they would just give it to you. Like, it's very simple. But no, they're going to hope that people won't bother jumping through the hoops to get the money that, quite frankly, they deserve and that they're owed at this point. It's anytime you tie up things in bureaucracies, like going through the unemployment system or in red tape that you're going to inevitably find whenever you're going through state governments and their social services, like unemployment is. Anytime you tie these things up in bureaucracy and red tape, you're slowing the process down, and you're making it more difficult for people to get the things that they need. And look, this $600, why can't you just add that? Look, the logic behind this makes zero sense to me. For one thing, a one-time payment, why don't you just make it? Why don't you just find out what they qualify for and give it to them on a per month basis? I mean, is that not? How is that difficult? Even with add the $600 per week into it. I just don't understand. Like, because I do understand, because they're going to loan Amazon a shit ton of money, but they want you to work for yours. Oh, look, and Amazon and Walmart are hiring during the coronavirus. Look, yeah, cool. USA Today. So, I mean, take that for what you will. They're going to throw that in there. Oh, yeah, Amazon and Walmart, they're not that bad. They're still hiring. Okay. Department of Homeland Security, $45 billion for disaster relief. Extends the federal deadline for people getting driver's licenses with enhanced security features. Like, this is now we're getting into some stuff that, probably shouldn't even be in the bill. We're going to throw in, they snuck in some education, $31 billion for education, $27 billion for research and development of vaccines and treatment. Look, $2 trillion. We can only dedicate $27 billion for research and development of vaccines and treatments and stockpiling of medical supplies. Between hospital and coronavirus research put together, we're not even spending $180 billion out of the $2 trillion. I just want you guys to understand how fucking ridiculous that is. Transportation, $25 billion for public transit systems, $10 billion for publicly owned commercial airports, intended to sustain 430,000 transit jobs, $1 billion for Amtrak. Okay, look, for the most part, I'm okay with this. Obviously, public transit is a no-go right now, and you're at risk of losing a lot of it, during this epidemic. So, like bus lines, airlines too, trains, okay. Any kind of mode of transportation where people are packed in like sardines obviously is not a viable mode of transportation in the middle of a pandemic. So they are going to need some help. I'm okay for the most part with that. Amtrak, we're getting to the point now where they're pretty big corporation. So should they be included? Who knows? But if most of the damage has already been done by this point. $20 billion for veterans, including $16 billion for treating veterans at VA facilities, $3 billion for temporary and mobile facilities. I'm okay with that. I don't have any major qualms with that. Food and agriculture, $15.5 billion for food stamps, $14 billion for supporting farm income and crop prices, $9.5 billion for specific producers, including specialty crops, dairy, livestock, and $8.8 billion child nutrition, money for food banks, farmers markets. Okay, see, these parts are okay. Defense. $10.5 billion for Defense Department, including $1.5 billion to nearly triple the 4,300 beds currently in military hospitals. I'm okay with that. $1.4 billion for states to deploy up to 20,000 members of National Guard for 6 months. $1 billion under the Defense Production Act to help private industry boost production of medical gear. And here we go again. Another reason why this thing took so long to crawl through Congress is because, again, Congress had to turn this into a political football. Money cannot be used to build President Donald Trump's proposed wall along the Mexican border. They weren't going to pass the bill unless they made sure that Orange Man couldn't build his fucking wall. They held you hostage over this. Do you really honestly think that this was going to happen to begin with? Or do you think that the Democrats in Congress are just trying to make a show of it? I mean, let's just be for real. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer will never, ever, ever, ever turn down an opportunity to score political points at the expense of the American people. They have done it for years and years, and they will continue to do it until somebody finally votes them out. It's that simple, folks. It's really that simple. And it's gross. Every time I see one of these little footnotes in here, I find it gross that we're politicizing an aid package that is supposed to help people, maintain a standard of living, at least a quality of life over the course of this pandemic. But we cannot help ourselves from slipping in these political points in the process and holding up the process because of it. And yeah, it just makes me sad at the state of the politics in our country. $3.5 billion in grants for childcare and early education programs. $1 billion in grants to help communities address local economic problems, and $900 million in heating, cooling aid for low-income families. $750 million for extra staffing for Head Start programs. I mean, I don't have any problems with that. And look, we're going to get into some of the minutia right here, but I'm just going to focus in on a couple more things. This whole part, arts. $150 million for federal grants to state and local arts and humanities programs, $75 million for corporation or for public broadcasting, aka PBS and NPR, and $25 million for Washington, D.C. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. Why the hell is this even in the bill? Why is the stimulus package funding PBS and the Kennedy Center? I'm waiting. I mean, I'm not going to get an answer. We've been asking this for a few days now. Why this is the case? Why? It just doesn't make any sense. This is pork. This is pork right here. They just had to slip something in at the last second to get, again, score political points. This isn't the time for that. This is the time for just getting your fucking jobs done. And you can't even do that without trying to throw some pork in the middle of a fucking stimulus bill. It drives me absolutely insane. And maybe I'm taking this too far. Maybe you're thinking I'm overreacting to it. People in this country are hurting right now. None of them give a flying fuck about the Kennedy Center. I'm sorry. Congress, $93 million, including $25 million for the House and $10 million for the smaller Senate for teleworking and other costs, $25 million for cleaning the Capitol and congressional office buildings. Somebody tell me where, okay, that's $25 million for the House and $10 million for the Senate, teleworking and other costs. So we're going to pay them extra money to work from home. We're going to give them equipment that they should already have to work from home. I'm sorry. The entire setup I'm using right now costs $500. Laptop, camera, a little flashlight over here, and this microphone. And you don't even need this to work from home. I don't even need the additional webcam to work from home. If I'm going to be voting on stuff, I just literally need a computer. Are you trying to fucking tell me that the people in the Senate and Congress can't afford their own laptops? Come on, man. Come on, man. And even if we're looking at the math here, there's $93 million for Congress, $25 million for House, and $10 million for the smaller Senate, and $25 million for cleaning the Capitol and congressional office buildings. I'm okay with sterilizing the premises, okay, because it's a crowded area and it probably is full of germs, and I'm okay with sterilizing that. Does it cost $25 million to do it? Probably not. But even if you add those together, that's what, 35 plus 25? Somebody help me out here. That's 60 million. Where's the other 33 million going? Probably lost in the minutia of the actual bill text. Look, the one good thing I will say out of this entire last part is going to be these two. About $2 billion for healthcare, equipment, schools, and other needs for Native American communities because they are completely left behind. I'm surprised that the United States government even included them in the bill. So $2 billion is probably nowhere near enough, and they deserve far more, considering all that the government has put them through over the last, I don't know, half a millennium, at least over the last 300 years. But you know, it was a good surprise to see that Native American communities were even included in the bill, even though I will be the first to admit that $2 billion is probably nowhere near enough. And the $1.1 billion, including $324 million to evacuate Americans and diplomats overseas, $350 million to help refugees, and $258 million in international disaster aid, and $88 million for the Peace Corps to evacuate its volunteers over abroad. You know, that's needed. So I'm okay with that. But guys, by and large, this is a weak ass bill, especially when it comes to independent, like normal citizens like yourself and myself that need this money to stay afloat. It doesn't go far enough for impoverished families that were struggling as it is, and now they are at the mercy of the federal government to literally keep them alive. And they chose, for one thing, they held it up over political ideology. They held it up over, they held it up over scoring political points. That's number one. And number two is, they decided that corporations were more important than you and your family. And that's just not acceptable. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. I mean, am I supposed to commend Republicans for finally, sticking up for the little guy and for finally buying into a UBI type deal? I mean, no. This is your job. This is what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be taking care of us because that's why we put you there. But once again, our government shows their true colors and who they're beholden to, and they're beholden to their donors. And these are companies like Walmart, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and the defense contractors like Raytheon, General Dynamics, Lockheed Martin, and Boeing. It's been this way for a really long time, and it will continue to be this way as long as we, as Americans, allow the current set of governmental malfeasance that is happening right now to continue. Look, is it better than nothing? Sure, okay, but whenever you're laying down your cards against a full house, whether you have a pair or a three of a kind, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, is it better than nothing? I mean, yeah, technically, but what does it win you? There are people need this money. People needed a comprehensive bill, and when you're giving large corporations that should be able to maintain their own standard of living and should be able to take care of their own employees, when you're giving them 25% of the $2 trillion, it just shows you right then and there. Like, all of these numbers none of the numbers make sense. They should all be flipped. The corporations should be getting 150 billion. Small businesses should be getting 500 billion, and hospitals should be getting to 350 billion. If we're going to use the same numbers and we're going to make the math work the same way, I would do it that way. Support small businesses first, take care of these hospitals, and then give the corporation some chump change, because you know what, you monopolizing fucks should have done better with your money altogether. Because that's what you've been telling us for decades. Should be better with your money. Should take care of your money better. But we can't hold corporations to the same standards, even though they're making literally hundreds of billions of dollars in tax-free profits over the course of a 15-year period, and they can't even pay their employees living wages or paid sick leave. It's disgusting. And it'll happen again. We'll bail them out again in a few years, even if it takes that long. This cycle continues, guys. So sorry if I went off my little rant there. Hoping that you guys enjoyed the video. I'll be back because we got to talk about some other stuff. Probably back tomorrow with another video. You guys, until then, drop likes, comments, questions, concerns, anything you got. Drop them in the comment section. Subscribe to me on YouTube. Rockfan, go hit me up on Twitter. Talk some shit to me. I can take it. But until then, guys, you keep doing what you do. I'll keep doing what I do. Take it easy.